What's going on, everyone? So when the Lakers acquired D'Angelo Russell, I was pumped because he is a guy that I thought would fit in perfectly next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I thought he was a guy that could really provide so much on just the playmaking side, which is what the Lakers have really searched for, right? LeBron, he wants to play more off the ball, right? That's what we keep hearing. We tried with Dennis Schroeder. We tried with Russell Westbrook. Neither of them really worked. But D'Lo, his ability to play on the ball and off the ball really just maximizes what the Lakers are looking for. He's a guy that is just a perfect third option. He can close games, which is huge for the Lakers. Mr. Ice in his veins. I just looked at D'Lo as an option. And I mean, I made a video a month before we were able to acquire D'Lo. And it's because it was just such a seamless fit, in my opinion. It was a guy that I thought could come in and his skill set could easily adjust and make sense next to our two stars. And that's what the Lakers really needed, a consistent third option that can also help score and close games out, which we saw. We've seen a little bit of that in all three games. Yes, the Pelicans game was pretty much start to finish a relatively controlled game by the Lakers, right? Probably one of our better games of the season. But even that game, you saw moments like in the fourth quarter, he had, a nice little 2-score stretch to kind of extend that lead when it looked like they were coming back. Gets the and one, that awkward shot in. He's a guy that can, in transition, step right into a three. That would have been an air ball, an absolute terrible miss, a terrible shot, period. But because D'Lo is such a good shooter, it actually was a good shot, and he knocked it down, and it really kind of just reset the tone. D'Lo, the way he operates in the half court, we lacked a half court offense the entire season until we got these players. And don't worry, I'm going to break down the other ones as well, because I'm sure there's some of you that are going to be like, well, you got to talk about Vanderbilt. What about Vanderbilt? What about Beasley? Stuff like that. Don't worry, we'll get there. But I really want to highlight D'Lo because I do believe D'Lo is going to be the biggest impact player. I think shortly behind him is going to be Vanderbilt, but I just think we've lacked that consistent third scorer, that consistent third playmaker, and D'Lo fits both of those things. His defense has also been extremely surprising. And one thing about D'Lo that I have stressed in past videos when talking about D'Lo is his consistency, right? He's a guy that whether he's started and been the number one guy or he's been the third or fourth guy, he's consistently averaged his 17 points per game. Now, the 1 year in which he was like the guy, or I guess you could say 2 years, but it was really like the all-star year, right? All-Star year was when he averaged like 21 to 23 points. And then Golden State year, he averaged just under 24 points. But he is a guy that's capable of getting you 20 a night if you need him to, right? But he doesn't have to. For the most part, his career average is 17.7 points per game, right? And around 6 assists. So when you look at that and you compare that to what he was doing in Minnesota this season, he was averaging just a hair under 18 at 7.9 per game with 6.2 assists. Now, in the 3 games with the Lakers, and this is what I'm talking about, Mr. Consistency. Literally, you want to talk about consistency, Mr. Consistency here. Right now, D'Lo is averaging 17.3 points per game with just under a hair of 6 assists. I mean, that's consistent. Right? He's averaging 17 points per game. He's averaging it on 45% shooting, and he's averaging it on 38% three-point shooting. Right? There you go. That's what we need. That is what we need from this team. And again, he's a guy that his game is seamless. Right? I love Russ. I've stuck up for Russ. But his game isn't a seamless fit on any team. Right? Because he can't shoot the ball. He has to play a very specific way. D'Lo being a 3-level scorer just makes it so easy for him to come in and be a plug-and-play guy. Not just that, but his unselfishness of like, if you need me to be the number one guy and you need me to go get 30, I can do it. But if you need me to go get 17 or 20 or whatever, if you want me to play behind LeBron and AD, I'll play behind LeBron or AD. If you need me to be the guy for a year, I could be the guy for a year. It's that unselfishness that really is undervalued when it comes to D'Lo. But even recent comments, D'Lo talks about fitting in with LeBron and AD. And here's some of the things he said. It's just easy. I think it's just easy. Those guys try to play the right way the majority of the time. When your two best players are willing passers and selfless out there, trying to screen away and back screen, they're playing basketball out there. For me, I've always wanted to be in the position where if I cut, I may get the ball. I'm usually the guy making the pass to the open guy. So to have LeBron out there, knowing what he's capable of doing, it feels like we have another point guard out there as well. I always say that with AD, that there is so much gravity when he is on the floor. The defense tries to stay attached to him. That means you find yourself walking to the rim. So just utilize how I can play with and without those guys is going to be the main focus for me, and try to get other guys going as well. That's my focus too. Those guys have the ball a lot of the time. So when they bring in another group in there and I'm in there with that group, I'm trying to get those guys going too. That makes us that much harder to guard. Beautifully put. I mean, it's highlighted everything that I've talked about, right? The gravity in which LeBron and AD just create, it allows D'Lo to operate so freely, unlike he's ever had to operate before. And like you said, we've seen a lot more cutting. We've seen a lot more just movement. The ball's moving more. Like the other night, we had 32 assists on like 47 made baskets or something like that. Like, that's incredible. Right? Like, we're moving the ball. The ball is free. It's not sticking. You have a guy in D'Lo who could go get you, 6 to 8 assists per game. You got LeBron James who could go do that. My biggest concern with losing Russell Westbrook, however you feel about Russ, the biggest concern I had with losing him was his playmaking. Right? Dennis Schroeder isn't the playmaker that Russell Westbrook is. This season, Russell Westbrook was great as a playmaker, especially for our bigs, feeding AD, getting AD the ball. D'Lo takes that concern out of the conversation because he can play make. We've seen him do it his entire career. He's a guy that could get the pass. He had some great passes. He had that one beautiful no-look pass. I mean, the guy can play make, but he can also score and he can also shoot. He is a upgrade as far as fit goes for the Lakers and this team, which is huge. But Anthony Davis also spoke on D'Lo. So this is what Anthony Davis had to say. It was our first game together. It looked good, kind of getting Bron off the ball, so he doesn't have to do everything. D'Lo can handle the ball, and also Dennis. We can get him in some actions where there's a lot of less movement, where he can have his way throughout the course of the game and not put too much pressure on him. D'Lo can take the pressure off of both of us with his scoring ability, his playmaking ability, and ability to run a team. It looked good tonight so far, but we'll have 23 more games when we get back to see how it looks for sure. So again, his ability to play make, his ability to score, he doesn't need to be set up to score, which is huge, which we've seen a lot with D'Lo, right? Like, a lot of guys on the team, they need setup, right? Like, they need to get the pass or make the cut and get fed. D'Lo, he could just off the rebound go and generate a bucket for you. Like, nobody else has to touch the ball if you don't need it to. I'm not saying that he should do that regularly, but I'm saying the ability to do that is huge. Having a scoring, playmaking guard is huge, and you're seeing the difference. And it's very visible. It's been 3 games, but in those 3 games, it has been like eye-soaring noticeable. Like, wow, this just looks so much different, right? The gravity, and not just that, even when D'Lo doesn't have the ball, teams have to stay attached to him because he's such a good shooter. Where you saw when Russ was in the game, teams just sagged off, or they double and force Russ to have to take a shot. Like, it's just such a noticeable difference. But Darvin Ham also touched on what I think D'Lo and the rest of the guys as a whole really bring to this team, and that is minute management for LeBron and AD. Not only this season, but just going forward, because they are only getting older, right? So Darvin Ham spoke on the 30 minutes, right? That was the goal, to hold up at a hard stop at 30. The more balanced your lineup is and the more pieces you have allows you to do that. Not only him, but AD as well. You don't have to run those guys into the ground. You can kind of manage them a little bit better, and they're fresher down the stretch and fresher in key moments of the game. It's great to have all of those pieces that are interchangeable. We go small, fast. We can go big, physical. It's great. I'm looking forward toward seeing what the possibilities are with this lineup. So again, Darvin Ham stressing how important it is for these guys to play, 30 plus minutes. That's the beauty of depth, right? You don't have to play LeBron James and Anthony Davis 40 minutes per game. Now, I'm sure that there will still be games in which you're probably going to have to, tight game down the stretch. But we saw numerous times this season, where we were unable, one, to close out a game, which D'Lo is going to help with, but also when we got into overtime, LeBron James and Anthony Davis were just spent. They were just so exhausted that they were completely ineffective in overtime, right? And then you saw like games where like Russ was trying to do everything because LeBron was just exhausted, trying to carry the workload. Now we have depth and we have talent. So if we do get in an overtime game, it's like, well, LeBron's only played 30 minutes. So he's got another like 10 minutes easily in him. So let's go. Let's go close this out. Trust LeBron to close out this game. It just adds so many more things. So D'Lo being that third guy for the Lakers might be one of the best fits. And it's why even a month before we made the trade for him, I talked about D'Lo and the Lakers should really look at getting D'Angelo Russell. Because you look at the landscape and it's like, how many players, one, can play the third option? There's a lot of guys that, you look at and go, okay, well, they would make sense. But are they able to not to take that back seat 2 times, right? Like some guys, like a guy like Zach LaVine, he's always been, and I'm not even talking about injury history or anything like that. I don't even really want Zach LaVine, but using him as an example, right? Because Zach LaVine is a player many people want. Yes, he can score. He's not the playmaker D'Lo is. Also, surprisingly, D'Lo's been a good defender, which, I mean, I've never thought he was a terrible defender, but he's surprised me and impressed me with his defense so far. But beyond that, what Zach LaVine does, like Zach LaVine's pretty much always been the guy. 1A, maybe you can argue the B guy, right? For the Lakers, he would be the C guy. Is that something he's going to be able to do? Is it something that he would be willing to do? And is it something that would fit, right? Like Kyrie, Kyrie would fit. Kyrie would be nice. But here's the thing too. LeBron trusts Kyrie enough to where LeBron would delegate and kind of let Kyrie be the 2B, right? Where LeBron, maybe he does that for D'Lo, but even if he doesn't, D'Lo would be able to play the third guy, which he has, and it's worked. So that's the thing. It's like, you look at the landscape and you look at the players in the league and you go, what guy, one, could be that third guy, and what guy, if need be, can step up, be that third guy, or be that first guy, and 3, what guy actually fits. And of course, like Kyrie is a guy that comes to mind, but so did D'Lo, right? Like my whole logic was like D'Lo, everything we were looking for from Kyrie Irving, D'Lo can provide. And then some, in my opinion, right? I think D'Lo's a better playmaker in general. I think he's more willing of a playmaker than Kyrie, right? Kyrie's more like, let me go get a bucket. Not saying Kyrie can't score. And Kyrie is the better player. Let me make that clear, right? Kyrie is the better player. But Kyrie is more of like, let me go get this bucket. Where D'Lo, we've seen stretches, we've seen games, we've seen multiple games where the guy will go get you just 10 points and just play within the scope of the team and just dish out assists all game, right? And get you, 8 to 10 assists or whatever, and kind of gets excited over like a big highlight play, right? Like, I mean, we saw it in the Pelicans game where, he made that great assist and you just saw, he just like, yeah, I'm that dude, right? Like, That, I think, is something that's very valuable and why D'Lo is going to fit so seamlessly, right? I do believe Kyrie would have fit seamlessly as well, but I think it would have looked much different, right? Where D'Lo, he can be that playmaker when LeBron isn't playing or is like, on the bench or whatever, right? Like if you need D'Lo, like D'Lo doesn't have to go score, right? And can still do so many other things that can really kind of help. And I really think that D'Lo, as the third option, just makes the world of sense for the Lakers. And I really think he's going to be very, very noticeable going forward. I think you're going to watch D'Lo, and he's going to stand out heavily. I mean, he already has, right? And so have other guys like Vanderbilt. Fantastic, and trust me, we'll talk about Vanderbilt. I'm really high on Vanderbilt, but I think D'Lo is the biggest impact guy because he just takes so much pressure off of LeBron James and AD. Don't be shocked if D'Lo has a 30-plus point game, right? Because that's the beauty. AD, if he's having a rough game, and we saw it, right? We had the first game. AD had 13 points. He wasn't shooting well offensively, but we were still able to win. D'Lo was hitting shots down the stretch. D'Lo scored our first 5 points, right? I mean, that is huge to have that guy who, like, don't worry, big fella, I got this. Let me go get this bucket real quick. You play the defense, help me out, get my back. I'll take us. Don't worry, don't trip. I got it. That's what we need. We need a guy like D'Lo. He's got the confidence. He's got the presence to him. He's not afraid of the moment, right? I mean, his rookie season with us, he was hitting game winners and stuff, right? Like, he's not afraid. Mr. Ice in his veins. He's got it. I mean, he's sitting there screaming the other day, it's like I never left. I love that. Scream it. Scream it at the top of your lungs, D'Lo. Like, that's what we need. We needed a guy like this that can be a 3-level scorer, but also be a playmaker. Also take pressure off of LeBron. Also be a setup guy for AD, right? Like, D'Lo was really good about that with Karl Anthony Towns, with Rudy Gobert. I know D'Lo and Rudy, they had their little spat, but D'Lo's like, the dude can't catch. Like, I'm trying to feed him the ball, and every time I feed him the ball, he's fumbling the ball and dropping the ball, and it's making me look bad. It's making me look like, I can't pass, and I can. He's not going to have that problem with AD. You see it. He's able to dump it down to AD, and AD's going to work. He's making great passes to AD. He's able to draw the defender out, right? Because now you can't double AD when D'Lo's running those pick and roll sets, right? Or those pick and pop sets, right? Or like when he's out on the perimeter and he dumps it down to AD, that defender can't leave. You see it. He can't go and trap AD. He can't go and defend because AD is a good passer. He's a great passer out of the post. And so whoever's guarding D'Lo, they don't have to, like, they can't go help AD. You didn't see that with Russell Westbrook, right? If Russ, made the entry pass, the defender would go and double team AD and leave Russ wide open. And so AD would kick it out to Russ, and then Russ would take the three, and more times than not, he missed. They can't, more times than not, D'Lo's going to hit that shot. That's the difference. And you see AD in these last few games with D'Lo and Beasley and guys like that on the floor, but primarily D'Lo because that's who we're talking about here. You see when they're running those sets, the defender is stuck. He's glued to D'Lo because it's like, well, if I leave D'Lo, then AD's just going to kick it out. Now D'Lo's got a wide open three and he's money, right? And so that just puts Anthony Davis on an island with these guys, and they can't guard him. And we just saw all the easy buckets we were able to generate with AD down low. It's seamless. It's beautiful. But anyway, as always, is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think of D'Lo on this Lakers team? Again, like I said, we'll talk about the others. We're going to break them all down. We got a little time between now and our first game back. We got like 6 days, something like that. So got a lot to talk about between now and then, and looking forward to the season, so picking back up. But anyway, again, love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know